to Oh Shit. Tonight I will be talking with Dr. Rebecca Rizk. She is a chiropractic doctor who's currently living in Dallas. She is married to a former Red Sox player named Motron Hopkins III. I am hoping I pronounced his name properly. I am so sorry, Rebecca, if I didn't. I see her in here. I'm just waiting for her to send me a request to be part of the live. Um, let's do it this way. Hope everyone can see and hear me as Instagram has been acting up. Hi, beautiful.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Guys, can you see us? Can you hear us? Is everything all good in the world of Instagram right now? How are you, girl?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. How's Dallas? What is it like there right now?
Dallas is almost like business as usual. Really. It feels like there's no pandemic here. But I feel like I'm in a pandemic, but everyone else around me doesn't necessarily feel like they're in a pandemic. So it's a little bit different just because I am getting word from my family back home in Ottawa, and they seem like they're on complete lockdown and not going anywhere, and it's very different over here.
So does that a little bit heighten anxiety for you, because you're hearing from us here like, oh my God, they've shut us down, we're in our homes, and then you're just like, well, I'm out and about doing my thing. What does that do for you on a personal level?
Yeah, it's definitely it's scary because I mean my husband took it serious from day one. And he was I didn't really know much about it. I was working. I didn't really hear anything until my husband was like, this thing's going on, like we got to get ready, like and it just kind of got bad real quick.
Okay.
And it seemed like we here in the States got really bad, and then Canada started picking up like behind us.
Right.
And then I think things got better a little bit quicker here, and then versus where my family's at, a little bit like, in Ottawa, it's still pretty new, and everyone is still. I'm hoping everyone's still staying home, but
Right.
it is. It's scary. It really is. Like I just have no words. We haven't experienced anything like this. I'm fearful, but staying positive at the same time, and hoping that everyone is safe and doing what they need to do, and yeah, so that's pretty much my
So
scoop on it.
with that said, are you guys there? You guys are not isolating then?
We are, but I don't think everyone is listening.
Okay. It's just not
So
taken as seriously.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So you are a chiropractic doctor.
I
Now,
am.
good for you, by the way.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
What took you guys to Dallas? Because you're from Ottawa, your husband is a former Red Sox player, so I'm
Yeah.
assuming he's from Ottawa as well. What led you guys to go there?
So he's actually not from Ottawa. He is from out here.
Okay.
So he was playing. I was finishing up my doctorate at the same time, and we had plans to kind of make our way here.
Right.
So I graduated, and we kind of went back and forth about, okay, should we stay in Canada? Should we come here? We ended up making the move finally, and here we are. So it was a pretty tough decision for sure on both of our ends, because Mo was um, he was so embedded in the community. It
Right.
was like his second home. So he had been playing for the Red Blacks for 4 years at that time, I believe. So he was, I mean, he knew so many people, and it was hard for him to say goodbye as well as for me. Of course, my family's there, so I had no one out here in Texas except for him and
Okay.
his family. So it was definitely a tough decision to make, but I'm thankful, and I'm happy I'm here. So
So you guys moved out there. You were engaged at the time that you moved?
I was not. I wasn't. We were still boyfriend girlfriend,
Okay.
and I got engaged on my trip to Dallas.
Okay.
So that's a whole other story. I don't know if you want to get into that, but I ended up taking like a graduation trip to go see him because he had retired and moved out here basically.
Right.
And so on my trip there, he planned a surprise proposal. So that's when I got engaged.
And now you did your studying here in Canada. You moved your practice out there. Was it hard to get recertified there? Did you have to do anything like that, or were you able to just pick up sort of where you left off?
So it was challenging. I was in school, I graduated. I was in the process of taking the Canadian boards because we weren't sure if we were going to make the move.
Okay.
Once we decided, I was in my fourth year. I ended up starting to take the American boards while I was still in my fourth year at school.
Okay.
And we moved and I continued taking the board exams out here in Dallas. So it wasn't like, oh, I was practicing Canada and then I had to like recertify here. And then it was kind of like a smooth transition in that sense. Although we had to go through immigration and all that craziness. So that's what was more stressful than actually getting licensed and starting to practice.
So you finish school, you're in the process of getting certified for your doctorate, you move out there, you get engaged, you're planning a wedding, and then
Yeah.
COVID. What happened to your wedding?
So it's life is crazy. Like one day you're planning and we were around the corner. We were getting married. Our wedding was in June, or is going to be in June. No longer is going to be in June because we actually made the decision to completely hold off.
Okay.
And the reason why is because we were actually going to have the wedding in Ottawa.
Okay.
So we have a lot of international travelers and guests. So we just decided the safest thing was to just kind of hold off because we just didn't know. Everything is still unknown to this day. We thought about postponing, but at the same time, it's like, when do you postpone to? Like, when is it going to be safe to really say, okay, this is the date, everyone buy your flights and come. So I think just for us, our safety, the safety of our families and friends, we just decided that the best thing to do was to just hold off.
Hold off. Now,
Yeah.
Rebecca, excuse me for getting invasive, but I do have a few questions regarding the wedding because I think
Yeah.
that many girls in your situation may be feeling this way right now. What was it like? Because we are now April and your wedding was set to happen in June.
Yeah.
What is happening with vendors and things like that? Did you give them a further date to postpone things? Are they giving back sort of your deposits? What's going on that end?
So that's a great question. Where the vendors are at right now, I think they're still waiting it out. They're very willing to work with us and postpone it if that is the case. So deposits would be all good, and then we would just kind of change the date. We're still in the process of dealing with everything. I'm not sure, to be honest. Right now, it's kind of uncertain. I'm thinking that we are going to probably take a loss on that, which is sad, but at the same time, I think it just outweighs whatever is going on right now. So we may or may not. We may just kind of keep it around. Maybe, for people who are in this situation, like, you can always use that, hopefully that deposit for another event that you're going to be hosting, maybe a photo shoot, like, for example, the photography, videography, if you want to, like, down the line do like another photo shoot or anything like that. So that's what we were kind of thinking down the line, of kind of just maybe keeping it with them and then seeing if that's something that we can do later on. So we might take a loss, we may not, but at this point, I think it's all right. Everything's good.
It is what it is at this point.
Exactly.
Now, Rebecca, you are Lebanese.
I am, yes.
And your husband is not.
He's not.
So how was that coming into both your families? Because I know that it can be challenging at times to like mix races together. Families don't exactly take kindly to cross culture. Some do. How was it for you guys? Was your situation easy? Was it difficult for you guys to sort of come out and say, we're going to be together and nobody has a say in that?
Yeah, I wish I can say that it was all easy. It definitely wasn't. It was a fight for sure. It really tested us, tested our relationship. It tested, our relationship with our parents, our families, and things like that. It was pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie. I just want to be honest. There were times where I was put in a position where I felt like, okay, I really have to choose between, trying to bring him along and put him through whatever is going to happen versus just saying, you know what, maybe this is just not the best thing for us and for our families and things like that. So it was, and I don't know if my mom is on here, but she loves him. Like they are so close, and so is my whole family is now super, super close to him. Thankfully, he had some status, which helped, sadly. He was a football player and stuff, so that really did help because some of my brother was friends with some of the owners, so the owner's son, and so that kind of helped. There was some connections there that kind of put in a good word for him.
Right.
But it was I can't say it was easy. I really can't. I really thought like throughout the process I was like, this is just not going to work out. This is just not in the cards for me. It's not in the cards for us. I feel like I just want to go the easy way out. That's where I was at a certain point. But obviously I loved him so much that I was willing to just fight. And I had to do whatever I had to do, and he had to do, because it's not only me. And as a Middle Eastern woman, yes, it's tough for me. It's tough for the dynamic and relationship between my family and I,
Right.
but also him. Like
Yes.
his family was a little bit more whoever, doesn't matter. Like they're very like open and welcoming, and they're just amazing people. So um, it wasn't it wasn't an issue really on that side. It was more on my side, as you can imagine. But it was an uphill battle for sure. But we made it, and we're
Made it
good.
work.
Yeah, we're good. So there is hope. If anyone's listening and is in an interracial relationship, there's hope. People will come around. They will see the person for who they really are, and you just got to give them time. You have to understand, and it was tough because I could see both sides of it.
Right.
I could see my parents or my family be like, oh, like this is not gonna mesh or work well at all. And it wasn't necessarily with my parents, but maybe the grandparents, the aunts and uncles. My grandparents obviously have an older mentality, like, came from a village, like they're not exposed to that. And like, it was just, that's just the way it is. And it is what it is, unfortunately. But um, they are literally, my grandmother will call him now and talk
Right.
to him. So it's just, and they don't even speak the same language. So
Well,
that's just like amazing.
I think it's so beautiful that we're breaking that down on a generational level, right? We are all sort of setting up for ourselves and saying, this is what I want, and what I want might not align with what I was told I was supposed to have,
Right.
but I'm going to follow my heart. And I think that's really beautiful that you took those steps and did that.
Yeah, thank you.
So now we're here. You went through all that. You got yourself to where you are. You're in Dallas. You're a doctor. You're practicing chiropractic medicine, holistic medicine. And then COVID-19 happens. You're scrambling to postpone, cancel a wedding, and trying to work through all of that. Like, what is going on in your mind right now?
I literally drive home every night and I'm like, I can't believe this is real life. Like, I can't believe we're living through this. Like, it's really insane. It's almost like you're living day to day. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So um, it's insane. It really is. As a healthcare professional, as a chiropractor, I am considered, not every board or every state or even every country that you're in, you are considered essential. But in the state of Texas, chiropractors are considered essential health workers.
Okay.
So yes, we can be open, we can function, we can treat. Obviously, things changed in the clinic and in the office where we had to take even more precaution
Right.
On things we needed to do on our end to make sure everyone was safe on both sides. So, for example, things like we could only have 10 people in the building at a time.
Okay.
We had stickers on the floor delineating 6 feet apart. We're screening every single person that came in, and that means taking their temperature. That means asking them questions such as if they've traveled in the last few weeks, had they been around anyone who traveled or was sick, and if they were experiencing any kind of flu-like symptoms, shortness of breath, things like that. So we were super thorough and made sure we covered our ground, and we treated people just like normal. We did wear masks. I personally wore a mask. It was optional. A lot of patients who were coming in were super thankful that we were actually screening people, because it made them feel safe, and it made them it showed them that we were taking the precaution and we took it serious. So that really helped.
Now, with your background in medicine, despite the screening process, because we all know that there's an incubation period, so people could be carrying the virus without actually showing symptoms.
Yeah.
Having the background that you have and the knowledge that you have, while screening these patients, are you still uncertain bringing them in? Does that cause you any sort of, worry having them come in, knowing they could still potentially pass this on to you?
Yeah, it really does. But it to be able to what I would take myself back to was, okay, as long as we're covering our ground and we're doing what we can, this is a risk no matter what. Being a healthcare professional, there's always risks that you're going to be dealing with. I'm not going to lie. I think everyone was on their toes. I think everyone was anxious. But again, what we were doing is we were having people come in, get treated, and leave. We had people that had appointments stay in their car, and we would call them or text them to come in, and it was their turn. So it was very like there was a system and a process in place that made sure and made us all feel better and more at ease. But no, definitely, it crossed my mind every day, all day, where I was like, well, there's an incubation period, like 2 to 5 to 7 days, where they could have it and not show symptoms. So yes, it definitely was. I was very anxious about that, but we did what we could, and thankfully we're all safe and still healthy. So,
and you guys are still working till now?
We are, yes. Mm-hmm.
So talk to us a little bit about chiropractic medicine, because I know that with holistic medicine and traditional medicine, there is a difference, and they're not always aligned with one another. They can be at times, but I know that traditional doctors don't necessarily back you guys always. So given the current situation, if you guys were ever to be mandated to work frontline to deal with COVID, is that something that you could do with the schooling that you have?
To a degree. I think I don't think that I would be in a hospital doing what the first responders are doing, and the nurses and doctors and things like that. Definitely not. But we are able to treat people and take the precaution that we can take to actually treat people with the virus. So that's a tough question in a sense that everyone plays their part. I deal with more the musculoskeletal system, the nervous system, things like that. Other than like those autoimmune, like it's more so like a different approach to treatment.
Right.
So we're, like you said, very holistic, very naturalistic. We use a lot of the time our hands to help and heal and serve people. Other healthcare professionals will use medication. Hi, Mel. Other people will use different remedies that they know, surgeries, things like that. So to answer your question, I don't think that we would be frontline by any means. But it's still definitely a pleasure to still be able to treat and serve people in times like this.
So with holistic medicine, are you personally, and you do not have to answer this if you do not want to publicly or this live, but are you personally against the use of vaccinations?
I have to say that I can't necessarily, so me as a doctor to a patient, I can't necessarily sway them one way or the other. So it's definitely their choice. Me, myself, It's a back and forth thing. Have I been vaccinated before in my life? Yes.
Okay.
Thankfully, I'm okay. Will I detox after the vaccination? Yes.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a yes and no kind of answer.
Right.
I did have to take vaccination when I immigrated, so I had to be up to date with all that stuff. So unfortunately, I had to. So I had no choice. But I was I want to say I was anxious about it. So I wouldn't be the first one to go and be like, hey, I'm going to take a vaccine for this, this, this. If I had to, yes, I would take it. But I wouldn't voluntarily
You would
take a
not.
vaccine if that makes sense.
So I know that a lot of people right now are in a slight state of I don't want to say hysteria, but anxiousness over the COVID vaccine becoming mandatory. If they do make that vaccine mandatory, what do you suggest people can do to detox from that vaccination?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different types of detoxes. Something that I do a lot is I'll make a lot of teas. So I'll do like apple cider vinegar, a lot of turmeric, a lot of ginger, um, a lot of anti-inflammatory type foods. Um, but yeah, so just taking something like that, I would try and like do a lot of greens to just keep the body healthy and keep nutrients up and things like that. Um, but yeah, that would be it. So all those really good superfoods, I would say um, to make sure you have in your system.
Okay, that's amazing and good to know.
Yeah.
I know that's something I've always wondered. Even just vaccinating my kids, I've heard of the detoxes, but never actually known what it was that I could do to detox them. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is really good to know. Um, Now with your practice, you guys are predominantly working on the same things that you've been working on before, or has it changed a little bit since COVID? Not necessarily the procedure to which you welcome your clients, but the needs that they now have.
Yeah, so it's definitely emergency based now. We do see a lot of acute patients, so people that are in like very like short-term pain, so they just like bent over and hurt their back and now they need help. So it would be more of that type of treatment. We are allowed to treat um, people who are on kind of like a corrective care. So any kind of essential treatment that we deem essential for that patient, we are allowed to do. Emergency patients, like new patients, so people who are in pain, people who are, um, just it's pretty much pain based at that point when it's an emergency. If you don't have any symptoms and you're coming in for like preventative care, it wouldn't be necessarily deemed necessary right at this point with COVID going on. But definitely, we're still here to serve. We're still here to help people. And, adjusting is great. We are a holistic medical clinic, so we're a little bit different than your traditional chiropractic clinics. Traditional chiropractic clinics would most likely just have chiropractors in it, or a massage therapist, or a physiotherapist. We are holistic medical clinics, and that what that means is that we do have different providers under one roof. So we have medical providers, and we also have chiropractic and physiotherapy and massage therapy. So we really have it all under one roof. The only things that we can't really do right now is the medical side of things.
Okay.
So we're actually not allowed to administer any kind of injections. So we do a lot of regenerative therapy. I don't know if you've ever heard of like stem cell,
Yes.
things like that. So that is not allowed to be administered at this point. We do a lot of trigger point injections, things like that. So we can't unfortunately do that right now, but we are still able to do everything that we normally do with chiropractic.
So have businesses in general taken a hit where you are?
100%. Unfortunately, there are some businesses who have no choice. They are essential and they can work, but they have no choice because business took such a hit to shut down because unfortunately they can't um, pay their employees and afford their employees.
And is the Trump administration offering any sort of relief for the people that have had to close down?
Yeah, so I've looked into it a little bit. So what they're doing is for small businesses. I believe they are offering loans for small businesses. There's specific criteria, like you have to be a business under, I want to say, like a small business, so it has to be, I think, something under 500 employees. Don't quote me on that, but there is some type of relief where they can get a loan to keep their business running and pay their employees. So yes.
There is something there. I
Yeah.
do see another question for you. Have you seen a shift in the housing market there? I don't really know what the market there was like to begin with. So was it as booming as, say, somewhere like Toronto for us? How is the market there in general?
It's actually, it depends on the area and on the area, but it's way better than Toronto. I can say that. So yeah, it's you. I don't even think you can compare it to Toronto, or even Ottawa is pretty expensive.
Yeah.
I can't really comment on the housing market. I'm not really
It's not your
familiar.
experience.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar.
Fair enough.
I'm so sorry.
I saw someone else, so I thought I'd throw it in there.
Yeah.
Do you find that are they enforcing compliance? Maybe not necessarily in your area specific, because I know you said that it's sort of somewhat business as usual. But is there forced compliance in the States in general? I know they were saying that, they want to go back to sort of business as usual everywhere, and New York has taken such a hit. What's happening there?
So I think I haven't watched the news today, but I think they were saying that especially our governor in Texas, is really moving the ball quick. And I don't think he's been on the same page as, Trump and all that stuff. He made a comment that Texans are resilient. And I'm the exception because I'm not Texan, but just I think he's more being optimistic, and he's trying to take the fear out of everybody and just, really get back to business as usual.
Right.
But I hope that doesn't, set us back.
Yeah.
I truly believe that if we're just doing it right the first time, and that means everybody, and really like self-isolating and just doing what we need to do to get this thing right, then we'll be okay and we can get back to business sooner. But unfortunately, hasn't been the case. Everyone is. So I went to work on Monday. The traffic was pretty dead.
Yeah.
And then by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it almost seemed like it was back to normal, which is insane to me. So I really don't believe that everyone is complying. I think there are a lot of people who are, just based off the patients that have called in and said, hey, we're going to hold off for the whole month of April. So that's been the case there. But there's a lot of people who are just acting like nothing's happening, and it's concerning a little bit.
That is concerning.
Yeah.
Do you find, with the patients that you are seeing right now and just the people around you in general, there is a heightened concern for mental health once we do come out of this?
Mm-hmm. I don't really. Am I concerned personally about it? Is that what you're saying?
Well, just from what you've seen or with the people around you.
Around me. I think that there is gonna be somewhat of a challenge there, just because with a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of patients that I hear, voice their concerns and everything like that. The people who are really staying home and scared to death. I really think that it's gonna do some damage. I'm hoping people are staying positive and just trying to get through this as much as they can. But it's tough, and it really it could happen to anybody, where you just go in this like darker space. You're depressed. Sorry, I got a call. I'm so sorry. You don't know if you're gonna get out, when you're gonna get out. There's so many question marks. I mean, it could really play with you. So I think that definitely there's gonna be a lot of therapists that are gonna be busy, because I do believe that it's gonna take a hit on your mentality, your mental state. Me as a chiropractor, I don't necessarily. I'm not necessarily like trained in that.
Right.
I could definitely provide feedback and tips, and I can acknowledge some mental like depression and anxiety and things like that. There is some coping mechanisms that I could give people and things like that. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. I definitely think it's going to affect people for sure.
Yeah. I agree. I think that it's already sort of affecting people just being in a state of unknown.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, once we come out of the state of unknown, I think there will be a heightened sense of panic over what else do we not know, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which is the unfortunate side of reality. And I think it's the unfortunate side of the bubble that society has let us live in for so long.
Yeah.
Has now been popped. So
Exactly.
we do definitely need people to be aware of their thinking and where their thinking is going and to know when they need to get the help.
Yes, for sure. 100%.
With your practice right now remaining open and you're still adjusting and sort of taking the patients that you can take, are you, even though you are taking proper precautions, are you fearful of getting sick yourself?
I am. So I actually decided voluntarily to, this was 2 weeks ago. This was back when it was first starting up, so probably 3 weeks ago. I actually decided voluntarily to stay home. And I thought that that was going to be the best decision for me, for the patients, for, my husband, and just, I was like, I have to do my part. I have to, as a healthcare professional, I have to do my part just like everybody else. So I did end up staying voluntarily home. The business was still running. A lot of the other employees were still going to work. But I just felt that it was important to kind of, you know, just simply just do my part. So yeah, definitely 100%. I ended up going back, just because we were even more precautious, and we had a system in place. I felt a little bit better about that. We don't just want anyone walking in, not knowing where they've been, not knowing what symptoms they have. And unfortunately, Texas is the state where a lot of people have allergies. So a lot of people are coughing and sneezing and have runny noses and red eyes. And so it was really tough in that sense to kind of figure out, okay, do we still let this person in? We do know they have allergies. We do know it's allergy season, but like, what do we do? So that was a whole other thing that we had to kind of work around. But thankfully, we were taking temperatures. According to the CDC, anything over 99.6, you have to refer out.
Okay.
So we were very, we were looking at every detail in that sense. But yeah, so it was a little bit challenging with everyone still having allergies and still having those symptoms. But they were sure, everyone who did have allergies were sure to say, like, hey, if I felt like I had anything other than allergies, I would be home. I wouldn't be coming in. So a lot of people were very cautious, which helped a lot.
Right. So now that are you still home then, or you've gone back?
So I'm home now.
You're home. Okay.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
your husband, now that he's not with the Red Blacks, what is he doing?
So he's actually an HR business partner.
Okay. Is he still working?
He's still working. So luckily he is fully able to work from home. So that's been a blessing. So yeah, he's set up his whole, just like it is at work, I guess, his desktop and his chair, and he's just doing everything from here.
Now, before the situation had settled in, aside from having the wedding planned, what was your sort of 5-year plan? Did you guys anticipate moving back maybe? Were you planning on staying there? What was your plan pre-COVID?
So our plan was to be here for a little while. Of course, home in Ottawa, that's always on the back of our minds. Like, it's always an option, to go back for sure. After this whole COVID thing, and, I mean, we were like, maybe we should really consider maybe going back. But we love it here, and it's been really, really nice. My family's visited quite a few times, and they love it here. It's actually really nice because it's almost like an escape for them because the weather's so beautiful here. So they're just like, we can just come whenever, so don't even go anywhere, just stay there. But I love it. I don't know if you've ever been to Dallas at
No.
all, but it is definitely a place to come visit. It's beautiful. There's lots to do. There's a lot of Instagrammable like areas, restaurants, coffee shops. Like it's just so beautiful. So I think we're going to be here for a while for sure. We have been going back and forth about, maybe heading down to Austin. Like we're just not completely sure yet where we're going to settle.
Right.
But for now, we're going to be here in Dallas for a little while.
And post COVID, or I guess now that we're in the midst of this whole fiasco,
Yeah.
have your plans changed at all? Do you see yourselves sort of staying in Dallas? Do you think that even travel is an option right now or will be in the near future?
Yeah, I think the best thing, I think moving hasn't really crossed our minds just yet. I don't think. But I think staying put is probably going to be our best bet with
Yeah.
all this going on. I don't even know when they're going to reopen the borders. And that was one of the biggest things for the decision for our wedding was we don't know when, the Canadian borders are going to open up. So there was that. And, but I think we're going to stay put. I don't think we have plans to move anywhere anytime soon, especially with everything going on. And I don't even know when we'll even feel comfortable to travel.
Right.
I know some people may just go back to it like nothing ever happened. But I think for Mo and I, we're kind of more like, okay, this just gives us a reason just to really stay put and be safe. So I think for a little while we'll be here and
Staying there.
just staying safe. Yeah,
So
exactly.
there's no tentative wedding date then. It's just sort of pushed indefinitely. Have
Yeah.
you guys done any private ceremony just between the two of you, or are you still waiting?
So we did. We went to when I moved here, when I immigrated, we did have to get married after 90 days.
Okay.
So we did have a ceremony. My mom flew in, and his parents live in San Antonio, which is about a 4-hour drive from here.
Okay.
So his parents came down. So we just had like a little mini thing. It was really sweet and cute, and
Cute.
but we were really looking forward to, of course, the wedding and the just enjoying it with our family and friends. And as a bride, you always dream of that. Like it's just something that it's just always on your mind. I had a Pinterest board and everything, and I actually got the call that my dress is in last week.
I know.
So it's just a lot to process, and I think the day after we made the decision that morning, it really hit me. When I was making the decision, I was like, you know what, this is the best decision. I think this is going to be the best thing for everybody, and I'm happy with it, and I'm at peace with it. And then it wasn't until the next morning where I was like, oh my gosh, what
It's
did we do?
oh no.
Yeah, like what? No, like it was just kind of like I wasn't really regretting the decision, but I was really sad that we weren't going to have those moments and pictures and videos. And I haven't been back home in a while, and us getting married in the church that I was baptized in, and
Right.
the church my parents got married in, and things like that. So a lot of those bittersweet moments we're not going to be able to do. But life is just like that. Like you just have to be ready for whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that at the end of the day, I think we are going to do something once everything calms down. Maybe something really small and
Yeah.
just with our immediate family, just so that we can utilize, my gown and his suit and get some pictures of some sort. But no, I think honestly, Tara, the one thing that makes me at peace with it is that we're we're safe and everyone that we know is healthy, and I think that's the best thing right now.
I agree with you. I think
Mhm.
that it's easy to get caught up in what we thought we would want for ourselves
Yeah.
when we wanted it to happen, and this is just it's an unfortunate reminder that nothing is in our hands. Um, and and even with that said, I mean, I have to thank you for agreeing to do this live on Good Friday when I know this is a holy day for you guys. And,
Yeah.
unfortunately, you're not even celebrating today the way you normally would. So thank you for taking the time
Oh
and
my gosh.
doing this today. I
Of
appreciate it
course.
so much.
Of
Um,
course.
with all that said, is there anything you'd like to say to everybody now that you're live?
Oh my gosh, I have so much to say.
Tell us
Um,
everything.
um, I, I just hope that everyone is staying safe, like really, like to the bottom of my heart. I pray that everyone is doing well, and thank you guys for being on live. And for anyone coming from my page, thank you for like all the support, really, and thank you to you, Tara, for considering me and bringing me on your live. I'm so honored and happy to be here, and I really hope we can do this again. And I know a lot of people are doing lives these days because it's just, you know, the thing to do and keeping us occupied. And but I think it's a really beautiful thing because it's really connecting us even more than we ever were connected, if that makes sense.
I agree.
I feel like we lost all like social like interaction. We were really like, and I'm guilty of this too, where I'm really in my phone and I'm not really like present.
Right.
But the fact that we have to social distance and isolate, but we can get so deep, you know, through FaceTime and live and just really connect and bring everyone together. The amount of like support and help and just like genuine like acts that are happening in the world right now, I think truly it was a blessing in disguise. I think that we needed this, like we really did. It's unfortunate, really, really unfortunate for the people who are sick and who have passed. Um, Honestly, it's the saddest thing, and my heart goes out to anyone who's affected and has lost someone in this pandemic. But I think that it was Canada's different. Like I'm a Canadian girl, so I love Canada, but I think the States really needed that. Yeah. So, um, but no, I'm just really thankful and really honored to be here. So thank you, Tara.
Thank you so much. Honestly, I feel like in this short period of time, I learned so much about you on a personal level that we actually don't know each other. So we were
Yeah.
friends, which if people know that or not. And I think it's really beautiful that we're able to utilize these networks and connections that we have made with each other to do something like this. And to have you come on this platform and not only discuss your work and your practice and what you do, but to also say, I broke down many social barriers. I'm here today. I've, accomplished not only things on an intellectual level, but on a social level. I think it's really beautiful for you to open up and talk about that because these are really hard topics that not everyone is willing to discuss. So thank you so
Mm-hmm.
much for opening
Of
up about
course.
that. I really
Of course.
appreciate
I feel like
it.
that's a whole live on itself.
It is. I hope that there's a lot of COVID right now, but I hope that that topic can be something that we discuss a little bit more with each other because we're all living something like it.
Yeah.
And right now there's government talking about our future, our future, our future, but on a social level, we've never really discussed our futures because it's
Right.
always been very taboo. So to be able to break down some of those taboos is important to me, and I respect that you were able to do that with me today. So thank you so much,
Of
Rebecca.
course. You're so welcome. Thank you.
You're such a beautiful person. You're so accomplished. I love and respect that you did this with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I will definitely have you on. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you soon.
Same to you, Tara. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye,
Bye.
you too.
Guys, that was so awesome. I'm so excited to save that conversation and upload it later for everyone who missed the whole thing. Tomorrow, I'll be speaking with Brandy. She's a former co-worker of mine from years ago. Actually, she is one of the first people that ever taught me how to two-step. So thank you, Brandy, for that. We're going to be discussing her journey through COVID. She actually had the flu right at the beginning of this outbreak, and she was tested for COVID.